What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Rap and Wrestle podcast. You guys know me. My name is Derek. You can follow Rap and Wrestle on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at Rap and Wrestle. Make sure you subscribe and check us out on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you get all your streaming needs. Today, very special day. Got 1/3 of the Jobber Tears here. A man who's very inspirational in the podcasting world, whether he knows it or not. Ladies, control yourself. There's about to be a lot of handsomeness going on the screen right now. We got the one and only Sir Wilkins. What's up with you, bro?
What's good, bro? Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be on this. This is an amazing opportunity. Thank you so much for having me on this.
Yeah, definitely, bro. I don't say those words lightly, man, when I tell you, how you guys are actually like a true inspiration, especially when it comes to, the Black podcasting community as well. I told Mr. Black this story. We did a group podcast thing for Black History Month. And I told him, I was doing a podcast and then, I didn't feel like I was like kind of being true to myself. And then I stumbled upon the Jobber Tears podcast page. And then I was just like, yo, look at these three. Like, they just being real. This is like me just chilling. And so you guys like motivated me to like do this solo project by myself, the Rap and Wrestle podcast. So definitely. So I'm going to start there. What my first question is going to be, how does it feel like being like, a role model for, others in the Black podcasting community and, setting that example for all of us?
Honestly speaking, I don't see myself that way, and we the other teammates don't. We just don't see it. But my girlfriend tells me all the time. She's in the wrestling community heavy, and she tells me all the time. But it's an honor. Obviously, it's an honor, and I don't even really know what to say. I'll be honest with you. It's just like I just want to make sure that we set a right example, but also I want everybody to have a voice out here in this community because everybody got something great to say. We may not all agree with each other, but there's not too many of us out there.
Facts.
So let's support each other. Let's lift each other up, even if we're not like on each other's podcast, but a retweet, a post, a like, or even a listen is always good. Let's all support each other because even though sometimes I feel like the Black wrestling community is so big and everything, it really is small as fuck. When you look at it from the bigger spectrum, like a part of like, oh, there's a ton of Black podcasters, but then when you look at all the all the wrestling podcasts, a very few are hosted by Black individuals. Yeah, and where the Black individual is the main host of it. Sometimes you may like, you have them as like kind of not the sidekick, but like the second mic, third mic. Like for instance, Stat Guy Greg has a podcast on The Ringer now. Kaz is on there, pretty good actually, but he's like helping out Stat Guy, not Stat Guy Greg. I'm sorry, the mask, I forget his name, but the Ringer got a show. Yeah, they got something going on. Stat Guy Greg is Peter Rosenberg's like guy, but it's Peter Rosenberg's podcast. But I love seeing that me and you, we're hosting podcasts, and we look like this.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful thing. It's just dope to me, and I appreciate the fact that people look up to us. But at the end of the day, I just feel like we're just some regular podcasts just trying to chucking and jiving and trying to make it to the top, son.
Yeah, nah. Yeah, you guys, I think the thing with you guys is that, you guys are a symbol of doing something you love and staying true to yourself. So that's one of the things. So like with you guys and also with Dirty Hills, I love you guys because I'm like, Dirty Hills are like as real as it gets. They just, they do whatever they want. This is how they feel. They talk however they want. I love it. And I think that's how we should be because, you know what I mean? When we come up, growing up in, urban areas, that's how people talk the way we talk on our shows. You know what I mean? It's no filter or anything. and you know, it shows you know, that kid that's growing up like, hey, you know, I could do this too. You know what I mean? That representation matters. That's what they say.
It matters so much, especially coming with this. Like Wrestlemania is black as
Yeah.
fuck.
Yeah.
And the reason why I love it is because there's some little kid out there that's gonna watch WrestleMania and be like, I can do this too.
Yeah.
And it's gonna inspire things. And like hearing when people hear us, hear you, hear Dirty Hills, hear Dead Ass Girls, hear those wrestling girls, hear Backstage Brawl, like they go, yo, these are the homies talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get, yo, you know what? Let me start my own shit. And it makes the community so much healthier.
Yeah.
It's like why people be like, yo, AEW is this. I'm not a huge fan of AEW, but having AEW around as a major company makes the wrestling community healthier because it's more options, more perspectives on it. You may not agree with their perspective 100%, but it's a different perspective and a different look at the same exact thing that we all share and love.
Facts. Definitely. Yeah. You know, for you guys too, you know, let's kind of rewind for people who don't know. You know, you, Mr. Black, Janelle from HR, how did you guys get together and decide like, hey, let's start the Jobber Tears podcast?
So, funny story is, I was working with another brand for a while. And I don't know if you noticed, but I do pay-per-view viewing parties.
Yeah. Yep.
So like for people who are listening or watching, basically I basically do WWE or AEW pay-per-view viewing parties, kind of like when some people go to a Super Bowl party at a bar.
Yep.
So I've been doing it for 9 years. I started on my own. Another like Facebook group was like, yo, hey, can I partner with you? I got a decent following on Facebook group. Let's work together. So me and homie, we're cool now. We had like some disagreements later on down the line. We're working together. I'm helping him build the brand, that Facebook group brand. And he had came to me. He was like, yo, we need more for this group, this brand that we're trying to grow together. And I was like, and I started thinking, I was like, we need content, but I couldn't put my finger on exactly what the content was. So about a couple months after he told me that, my homeboy I used to work with at a retail shop, he hits me up. He's like, yo, I got a podcast. You want to be a guest? I know you like wrestling. I was like, yeah. So I come on. I invite my homeboy, who's like a photographer. I was like, yo, I need some content because I've been told I need content for my Instagram. Can you come through, take some videos, take some pictures of me on this podcast? He's like, yeah, I got you. I was like, I can't pay you. I don't got money like that at the time, but I'll buy you lunch. He was like, I'm always hungry, so you good. So after we did the podcast, I grabbed lunch with him. And he kept nagging me. He's like, yo, you did a good job on that podcast. Let's do our own. I was like, I don't got time for that shit. Like, I'm busy with other shit. She's like, nah, you should really do it. I got some equipment at home. We can find like little spots in the city. There's something called Breathers we can go to, and we can do a podcast. And I was like, maybe I'll think about it. And this is before you had like Anchor, you had all the easy ways of like, you know, distributing podcasts and like really recording podcasts. So I leave, I head out, and then the next day I'm at the gym and I'm watching First Take. It's on the TV screen. I was like, yo, I got an idea. So the whole concept of the show was before I was like, there's no like debate shows for wrestling type of shit. So, and it's that barbershop talk that I know of. Because I was listening at the time, I was listening to Sam Roberts' podcast, Rosenberg's podcast, and I was listening to Brilliant Idiots. I don't know if you ever heard of them with Charlamagne the God, and the Joe Budden's podcast. But none of them were like debate style. It was just people just talking. Or then have a format. So I came to my old business partner. I was like, yo, let's do a podcast. He was like, I don't know. I don't really want to be on camera. And I study shit. So I saw what Joe Buttons did. I saw what Charlamagne did. And I was like, this is how they're successful. I'm gonna take that formula and put it to what I'm doing already. So I was like, nah, I already know what we gotta do to promote and everything. And my boy, his name is Leo, he got camera stuff, he got recorders, we're good. And he was like, I don't know. So then I started looking for like a female host to kind of like be like on it, because you always need that female perspective on it. Right. So I wanted Janelle on originally, but I was like, Janelle might just be too busy. Me and Janelle are best friends. Yeah. So I didn't ask her. So I put a Facebook post out, hey, I'm looking for a female that would be interested in doing a podcast. Janelle doesn't hit me up. Our mutual friend hits him and was like, yo, why don't you just put Janelle on? And I was like, oh, let me hit her up. So I hit her up and she was like, yeah, I was waiting for you to ask me, but I didn't want to be that person. So yeah, exactly. So she ends up jumping on and we started doing a podcast with the other dude. And there was one episode he wasn't in town. I think this is God's plan of working shit. So he wasn't in town. He's like, you'll find somebody else to like, be a guest on there. So I got my brother on there. Mm-hmm. And Janelle was like, I think they call it Mic 1. Like she was the main host on that episode. And me and my brother were debating each other. And it instantly clicked. It was like phenomenal chemistry. Me and my brother never talk about wrestling. But as soon as we sat down, we started talking. Janelle this is the first time Janelle meeting my brother. The chemistry was just perfect. So in the back of my head, I was like, yo, that shit worked out well. And then me and homeboy had like legit creative differences on what we wanted. So it didn't work. And he was just like, yo, you whatever. So I wanted to still continue it. So I called my brother. I was like, yo, let's do this shit. Me, you, and Janelle. So I hit up the camera guy, Leo, and all four of us was like, yo, we're gonna do a new show. So we sat at Legends Bar in New York City, and we ran through different types of names to call the podcast. At the time, I was like, yo, everything is fucking taken. Like every cool name is like, yo, is there that many wrestling podcasts out there? And there was, but there were majority like, people that don't look like us. So we're going through names, and there was this dude that used to come to the bar to our events. He used to troll online. And then his like tagline was like, I got a cup of tears of all these people complaining about shit. And Janelle mentioned that. And I was like, yo, why don't we call it, because Jobber Tears? And we all were like, that works. And then in my head, the reason why I said that, I was like, none of us are superstars. We're kind of like jobbers. We're not even mid-card guys. And we are complaining, so Jobber Tears. And that was like, we did a pilot episode to see how it would work. And we did our first episode 3 years ago in January. And that's how we started. That's the start of it.
Wow, that's a very interesting story for sure. Damn, so you guys, you've only been doing this for 3 years then?
Yeah.
Wow.
We're almost up to officially our 150 episodes soon. And but when we started, I planned it out marketing wise, like how we're gonna promote it. I used to be a nightclub promoter.
Yeah.
Like back in the day. So I kind of was a little keen to like online promotions, online things, and how to maneuver things. So I was real strategic on how I was gonna roll it out. I was like, we're gonna do a month of us just talking about it on our social media and pushing it out and trying to build up a little bit of a following. Because we each had like people we knew, but we wanted to all bring them all to the Jobber Tears page. Yeah. So we worked on that, and it's been 3 years. Like we've had solid, I won't complain. We have solid numbers for being new, but then also being not like a big time podcast, like, like on big time like platforms. We're just this little engine that could, and we've been building up a small following and everything. Like if COVID didn't happen last year, we had some mega plans last year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but yeah,
I know you guys were working on a lot of things that were coming up, and you know, COVID kind of shut those things down for you. I know that.
yeah. We were gonna we had we were gonna do like our first wrestling show.
Yeah, right. Yep, you guys are is yours
Yeah.
with we working with Joe Kim? Is that who you
Yeah,
guys
we're
are
working
working
with
with?
Joe Keem from Battle Club.
Yeah.
We're gonna do
Yep.
our first wrestling show. That we're partnering. It's still gonna happen this year. We're actually working on the card right now as we speak. But
Nice.
the main event was gonna be Tasha Steelz versus Swole.
Wow.
That was the main event. It was booked and everything,
Crazy.
like officially booked. And I had the wheels turning on how we were gonna do it. And I was supposed to have a match against Simon Miller from WAP Culture.
Mm-hmm. This was going to be your first match, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, see, I was expecting. I saw you posting about that, and I was like, yeah, I want to see this, man. And
Yeah, and it's but we're working on bringing everything back and everything. But yeah, like when it's the biggest thing is that we're all three of us are passionate about this, and we love it. We thoroughly enjoy it because people ask me like, how do you start a podcast? And I was like, it's three things: stay consistent, promote it, and have fun. You do those, you'll have a little bit of success to mega success. I don't know where's it gonna fall into. It depends how hard you go, but you can do those three things, you'll be able to do something.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. You know, the thing I like about you guys as well is that, you know, it's real genuine. You can see that. And even like every time I see you and Mr. Black argue, it's like me arguing with one of my bros, and it's like, you know, it's gonna be all good after. It's like, yo, we just having the argument now, or you know, whatever it is. But once this is all over and we get back to normal, everything is still good at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's a blessing, man. It's a blessing. It's a blessing to be able to do something like this, like to do something with my brother and my best friend. It's like I thank God like every day, like, yo, I get to do this, wake up and do this, and it's like it has a somewhat of an impact.
You personally, it's all good. So for you personally, how did your love for wrestling start? Like, what was it that drew you into wrestling and, you know, made you become a fan of it?
So I really fucked with the new generation era.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little older, so I was watching wrestling like I started watching wrestling like Razor Ramon, Shawn Michaels days, and I was like 5 years oldish, whatever the time was, and that was how I started. Obviously, the mega love for it came in the Attitude Era, like most people around my age. So that was the boom. But I really started watching like Saturday Night Wrestling. I was watching Razor Ramon versus Shawn Michaels. Still one of my favorite matches at WrestleMania 10. Like it's wrestling I've been loving wrestling for a while, like for a while. And I mean, there was a time like I think 2 years I stopped watching it, and that was like low key peak like towards the end of the Ruthless Aggression era into the Cena era.
Yeah,
If that makes sense.
yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah, so that was when like Punk was getting his rise up. Punk was doing his thing. That's when I really got back into it. I can't stand Punk, but I love Punk at the same time. I think he's a gem and an asshole at this all in wrapped in one.
So I totally agree with you. At one point he was my favorite wrestler, and now I'm like, now that he left, he's like so stubborn. It's like, yo, just come back, bro. Stop being so stubborn. Why are you being so stubborn for?
I think he got a bad taste in his mouth of the business, but I sometimes think like it's like a bad job, right? You had a job that you really fucking suck, but at the same time, that job gave you a lot. And he sounds so ungrateful about the business. Yeah. And it's like, oh shit, like, you know, damn. Did you watch? I'm going off subject, but did you watch the Stone Cold and Randy Orton like interview, the Broken Skull interview?
That Randy Orton when he was on this show?
Yeah,
I didn't see that one.
If you ever get a chance, watch that shit. It might be my favorite one. Yeah. It was a look into Randy Orton as being humble and so like grateful for the business.
Yeah.
And it's one of the greatest things I've seen. And I'm like, damn, Randy. So okay, cool. But to go back to your question, like, yeah, it started like real young. Been watching it for like a minute. Like I go back to some Attitude Era like stuff or early Raws. I was like, yo, I remember like what I was doing there. I was like playing with Ninja Turtle cars and watching fucking The Rock join the Nation of Domination. And I had to sneak to watch it. And I remember when watching like old Attitude Era stuff and Brian Panties match, and it was so uncomfortable because my mom is sitting right there, and her boyfriend at the time was there. I was like, yo, this is mad uncomfortable. Like they are so fucking hot, and I'm getting somewhat of a hard on right now. So my little perverted ass, and my mom is sitting right behind me on the couch. Wow, this is uncomfortable. It's so cool.
That was good. That was good. That was good times, man. I tell you, I'm the same way, bro. I was born in '86, so that was my peak time too. And you know, I always think like the Attitude Era for me personally was like the best era in wrestling. I loved it so much, and you know, it changed the business, and it became like such a household thing at that time. I kind of had that same thing as you though. It's like at one point I decided like wrestling wasn't doing it for me no more. I don't know. And I took a break from watching wrestling. For you, were there any reasons like behind why you stopped watching it for those 2 years you said?
I think it was maybe even longer than that. I don't remember the exact time, but the biggest thing was life. Mm-hmm. Life just happened. Like at the time, social media wasn't a thing. Like right now, you cannot watch a Raw and still know what's going on because of social media.
Facts.
So at the time, it was just like time. Like I talk about this time because it was like I'm in college. I got my own apartment in fucking Manhattan on like in Spanish Harlem. I just started nightclub promoting. I wasn't thinking about it. It was just not a thought. Like I was doing so much, but I was also like just living my life at the time. And it just kind of like slipped out of like, you know, because you had to be home at 9 p.m. to watch it. There wasn't no Hulu, there wasn't nothing. And at the time I didn't even have cable because I was like, I don't like spending the money for it. So that's mainly the reason why it was just life just made me not watch it. And then I started watching again. And it's crazy how the universe and God works. Is just that once I started like kind of getting back into it, that's when I had a moment where I found like, I was like, I want to do the viewing parties. Because I was interning for a nightclub promotion for a nightclub company. And then the managers of the company was just like, yo, go ahead, do your thing. We'll break you off something if it goes well, and that's it. And then it just all worked out. But yeah, it was just because, go back to your question, life. It's really life, and it wasn't convenient as it is now.
Definitely. I definitely can understand that. I feel like that's part of the same reason for me. And I don't know, at that time, it's just, I don't know. I don't want to say I kind of feel like it wasn't really that great either. You know what I mean? During that time period.
What time?
Kind of like what you said, like before that. This is like that before, like you said, like before that, like ruthless attitude, ruthless aggression era type. I don't know. I wasn't really enjoying wrestling at that time. And it was just like I just stopped watching it. And it was like at that time, you know, too, wrestling was like one of those things where not too many people talked about being wrestling fans. It was kind of like one of those things you hid that from people. You didn't tell people like, yo, I watch wrestling 18 years old. Yeah, I watch wrestling. People would be like, yo, you know it's fake, right? It's like, yeah, I know it's fucking fake. Everybody knows it's fake. It's like all the movies you watching is fake. But it's like, I don't know, it's just one of those things. And as, you know, we got to get, you know, more evolved. Now you can see like there's millions of people who like wrestling just like you, no matter what age you are. You know what I mean? We could talk, me and you talking right now about wrestling. You know what I mean? There's at that time you couldn't do that with people.
You know what's funny? You mentioned the fake thing, and I hate saying it, or like it's predetermined, whatever. I remember. Do you remember that special that aired on Fox 5? That was showing you all the behind the scenes stuff of wrestling. Do you ever remember that one?
I remember that.
Bro, I'm gonna tell you this right now. Shit broke my heart. And I was in denial the entire time. I was like, well, they cut themselves, but I made up some random thing in my head, like they still got to get hit to get cut. So they're really not cutting them. Like I was making up shit in my head, like this. No, this is all lies. Like I forced myself to like not believe it. And then now I'm older, I understand it, and I understand that it's still sports, but it's sports entertainment, and they do what they do. But even sometimes, like for me, especially now that I train, a part of me feels that it is real, like because regardless, you are hitting a mat, you are taking a move, you're taking it in the most safest way possible. But today, I think that last week we were doing we were taking suplexes. That shit doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
That shit doesn't feel good. But I get the predetermined part. You know who's gonna win and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. It still doesn't take away from the athleticism and the skill you gotta have to do it for sure. I'll ask you this then, since we kind of talked about that. What was like, I would say, your biggest heartbreak in wrestling? What would you say that was for you? I know it's like a tough question.
Like legit, I felt hurt. This is gonna sound really lame, and I'm gonna be keeping a buck though. The way Kofi lost his title.
The way he lost his title,
shit was like, this is what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always, so when I do the podcast and I talk to my co-host and my which is my brother and Janelle, I understand the business side of things, of why they do it. But I was emotionally invested in Kofi because it was such a beautiful thing. Like when he won, I remember I was at the bar that we did the event for, and motherfuckers were crying.
Yeah.
And I know people was like, well, his run wasn't that great, and people, saying things about him not being like a big dude, like he didn't look like he was like a champ, but it was like, this was our guy.
Yeah.
This was our guy, and we all know he's gonna lose to Brock. But I didn't expect him to lose that way.
Yeah, totally agree. I totally agree.
That was one of my heartbreaks, but I think a close second, very close, is when Roman made his announcement about him having cancer.
Oh yeah, that was tough.
That one was just like, what? Shit. I don't think, what's funny? You mentioned that earlier wrestling never really broke my heart. Mm-hmm. It either made me fully invested, like I wanted to see what was next. I felt bad for the person, but I wasn't like, like invest. Maybe because I was not as emotional when I was younger. You kind of grow older, you kind of understand your feelings a lot better. But those two moments though were like, and they're so recent. It's just like those hit home for me. Especially that Roman one was like, yo, when he said my name is Joe, I was like, oh, this is serious.
Yeah, facts. No, that was a crazy one. I'm glad he, pulled through that for sure. The thing with Kofi, that it kind of like bothered me as well is that we know that Kofi and Brock could have had an amazing match together. So it's like, why couldn't you just let that happen? You built up this whole thing with Kofi where he overcame all these odds. He had all these great matches and all these things that he did. But when it came to Brock, it was just like nothing. You just took it all away like it was nothing. Literally, 10-second match, which was crazy to me. I really didn't understand it. That's one of those things. I was probably more mad than heartbroken, I would say. I really didn't understand it. I really didn't understand it.
Neither did I, but they got to make the top dollar look super fucking strong. But
definitely. Moving on, then let's talk about, from that time you say you started watching wrestling to where we are today. Like, what are your thoughts on Black representation in wrestling in general today? How you feel about it?
So I think it's amazing. I think we're at a much better place when I first started watching wrestling. What's funny, I'm a WWE guy, like heavy, and I watch New Japan sometimes. I watch AEW weekly, but Attitude Era had a lot of colored people of color on there. Like in that peak time. Now, a lot of them weren't in the main title picture. There were more mid cards to lower, but there was a lot of people. But now I'm seeing more people of color as like real contenders. That's the major difference I'm seeing between earlier when I was watching wrestling to now, is like they're major contenders. And there's so many different forms. My brother talks about it all the time on the podcast. It's so many different forms of Black that we're seeing. You have the New Day being this, the gamers, anime lovers, which is rampant in the Black community. You got Hurt Business type dudes, suited and booted, different type of Black. You have Apollo, his little gaming guy. Some people are not with it, some people are for it, but it's still a different type of. There's an immigrant Black that's in America. Let's not forget that. Yeah. So we're seeing that, and you go to other shows. You're seeing Sunny Kiss. You're seeing Nyla Rose. You're seeing Private Party. You're seeing Scorpio Sky. Like different forms of Black. It's not the same stereotype that we always see. And it's like, and they're also contenders. Like Chris Bay is doing his thing. You got Rich Swann doing his thing. Rich Swann and Moose put on they tore the house down in their last match against each other. So we're seeing different forms of African Americans, Blacks, whatever, doing different, doing their thing differently. And also, I say this all the time, is that it's gonna sound crazy. Niggas should have never let us wrestle, because we're about to take over the game, son.
No, facts.
That's what it is, because before, to find a wrestling school, you had to go like 20 miles. You had to go wild far. I remember we had JTG on the podcast, and he's from Brooklyn. He used to take a bus every weekend to Virginia to get wrestling training. I think it was Virginia. I could be wrong, but that's how far he had to go for wrestling training. Now, New York City alone, that I know of, has 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 wrestling schools.
Yep.
So the opportunities are there where, like, yo, there's a wrestling school down my block. I'm gonna go try it out. You might not make it, might will, but you have an opportunity now. When we were younger, watching the Attitude Era, we didn't have the opportunity like that to go to a wrestling school, to go get training, because that curtain was so closed. It was so close where, like, it was stapled against the wall where you couldn't pull it off. And that's what it is. But we're getting opportunities and we're becoming contenders. Like Hurt Business and New Day were going back and forth with the title. Now you got Amos and AJ about to be, granted it's not completely a Black team, but you have Amos, who's going to compete at WrestleMania against the title with the New Day. Hurt Business, they're doing their thing. Bobby Lashley is the champ. And it's also different people of color. Like Roman Reigns is, even though he is Samoan and white, Samoans weren't always really up there. They were respected within the community, but they weren't always contenders. The face of the company is a Samoan. The face of the women's division is Sasha Banks. And then we don't even talk, let's talk about the women. Like Bianca Belair, Sasha Banks might main event one of the nights of WrestleMania, which needs to happen, point blank.
They have to do that.
You can't play no games on that one. That's too much money there. Too much money. And it's too much. There's so much you can do with that. But you're seeing that because they're getting opportunities, and it's shout out to the PC Center. And that's why I talk about AEW again, is that now you have 2 companies and now they're looking for talent. They're looking for talent. Low key, you have 3 companies because I really think NXT is another company, even though it's under the WWE umbrella. So you got 3 companies looking for talent and searching for talent. So it's so many opportunities and there's so many wrestling schools now. I can go look, do these things because I can be black. Like I got a school down the block, get my shit up. I'm there. We are at a different place, and I cannot wait 15, 20 years down the line where we're really a major part. But the biggest thing that we have to do is get into those executive seats for these companies.
Facts.
It's one thing that the wrestlers are moving up on these higher levels and becoming contenders, becoming champions and all this other. That's fucking great. But on these boards or these boardrooms, we need a couple of people of color. Like, people will say what about WWE. I know for a fact they are actively, I know personally people who work for the company who tell me they are getting more and more people of color and women on those executive boards.
Nice. Wow.
To change things.
That's
like
incredible.
Half of the talent management, I think it is black.
That's incredible. That's impressive.
Yeah, because nobody talks about it, and I get why. Because what your past is your past, so people are gonna bring that up.
Yeah,
and that's why I get a little mad at AEW sometimes. I was like, yo, majority of your EVPs a bunch of white dudes. Granted, Kenny is supposedly bisexual, so he brings another flavor. He's from Japan, so he understands that. But y'all talked about this revolution. Come on, let's do this. Y'all got the pieces in play. Or did y'all just bring these people on board to do a diversity check?
Yeah, no, true. You know, the funny thing with it is, you know, WWE. I was gonna ask you, when it comes to WWE, do you think that they're actually starting to see, like, hey, we got all these guys, they're very talented, the Bianca Belairs, the Sasha Banks, the you know, Apollo Cruzes. We're starting to see, like, hey, these guys are talented? Or do you think it's just because of everything we've been through since COVID happened and everybody got to sit home and see all these bad things that are happening in the world to Black people, and they put their pulse on that and say, hey, all right, now this is the time. Everybody, every organization, you look around, the NFLs, we got to start doing better things for Black people. They had Colin Kaepernick on his knee 2 years ago telling people we need to do this. You know what I mean? The NBA has always been progressive with it, but it's like everybody's eyes open. So do you think the WWE actually saw these talent and said, hey, these people are deserving this, or are they just doing this to kind of like cater to us and keep us quiet? Like, which one do you think it is?
I always think they have their pulse on the they have their pulse. It's usually too late sometimes because wrestling moves slower than reality.
Yeah.
But I in a percentage wise, I think it's 20%. They're like, we gotta put some more Black faces on there. But I also think when you're good, you're good.
Yeah.
Because look who's champions. Look who are the contenders. And it's also having the right people in place that can get to the other people in place that could help bring people up. Like MVP, what he did with the Hurt Business.
Yep.
He's more than an on-screen character. He's behind the scenes whispering in people's ears like, yo, look what you got here.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, you cannot deny that Bobby Lashley looks and wrestles like a fucking champion.
Facts.
And people's like, well, he's just pushing him because he's Black. But if he didn't walk out the company before, he would have been champion. Because remember his run back in the day?
Yeah. They gave him his run. He was doing good. They had him as US. The ECW, they had him in that whole thing with Trump and Vince.
Exactly. So they've always been high on Bobby's that he left the company because of his shorty at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So is it because of what else is going on? Of course. That always plays a factor. I'm not going to deny it. I'm not going to be fucking naive about that.
Yeah.
But it's one of those, all right, cool. Give him the ball. Let's see what he does with it. and they fucking run with it because New Day's been popping before the situation happened last year. Let's talk. And I think a lot of it, even with companies that have their ways, it's results. True. New Day delivered. Supposedly the people at USA love, or NBC love the Hurt Business. They love what they're doing. So when yes, there's racism involved. I'm not going to deny that. But when the talent is there, the talent is there. You can't deny it. It's one of the things that the cream always rises to the top. They can't deny you. They try to deny Kanye West. Look what Kanye West is doing now. I know we're a rock wrestling podcast. I had to mention a little bit of rap.
Yeah, we gonna get there. We definitely gonna get there. Oh man, no, but yeah, definitely, I totally agree with you with that. And I think for the most part, I think just because WWE is the biggest company, they get the most, they get scrutinized the most out of all the companies when situations are going on. Because like you said, people are still coming at WWE. WWE is giving us the blackest WrestleMania we're about to have, and then they pay attention to the guys like AEW and the things they aren't doing. You know what I mean? It's always all focused on WWE. But then I will say, then there's things that they do that baffle me and question me. So now we got this amazing black WrestleMania that's coming up. And then who else would be the best host of this WrestleMania? They bring in Hulk Hogan for this. I saw you talking about this as well on Coffee Talk, but they bring in Hulk Hogan for this. Like, what is the thought process behind this, man? I don't understand it.
It's tone deaf. It's tone deaf. It's Vince, and I don't want to say shit on Vince, but it's like he doesn't know any better, and he's just like, yo, this is my fucking company. Let's put him on, because technically speaking, homie's from Tampa, and it's nothing but a tone deaf move, and there's nothing more to that. I don't think there's real malice around it. It's just tone deaf, not reading the room. Right. It's literally one of those moves that you're not like reading the room and seeing what's going on in the world. And to be honest, a lot of black fans are supporting it. I've seen it. Yeah. So it's one of those, I still going to support the wrestlers that are putting their bodies on the line and trying to put on a show. Because, and there's something my boy from Barry and Smart said, he posted about this. We get mad when a wrestler's released or is low on the card, whatever. We scream and yell about it. But are you buying that wrestler's merch? Mm-hmm. Are you tweeting about this wrestler all the time and telling them they need to get more love? No. So I don't want to stop watching WrestleMania and do like a boycott or something of that nature, because that hurts the wrestlers on the card, especially those black wrestlers on the card, because if those buys are down, it's a catch-22. Because if those buys are down, they could be like, oh, the wrestlers, it was a bad card. Mm-hmm. And they might not know that it's because of Hogan. Yep. If the buys are up, they might be like, oh, Hogan was the reason why behind it. But if the buys, they might also see like, yo, this card was stacked with these men and women. We need to be pushing them more. Yep. It's a catch-22, but I'd rather support these wrestlers: Bianca, Big E, Roman, Sasha. Who else is on that card? Still fucking not complete yet, but you know what I mean. Like, supporting these people. I love New Day. I'm gonna support the shit out of my body and merch. Mm-hmm. Fucks with them, and one of the main reasons why they're still together because they make mad money off merch sales. Yep, totally agree. Yeah, man, it's one of those things, and it's so hard, especially as being someone that's in the wrestling community, I guess you could say. And then every time Hulk Hogan is such a big household name, is that some people don't even know about what happened with him and all the things that came out. So it's like, I was talking to a friend the other day, and she's like, yeah, I grew up in a time where, I watched Hulk Hogan. He's still one of my favorites to this day, but she doesn't know what's going on. And the same thing with my son.
we was just in Orlando last week. And then we're at the world's biggest McDonald's right across the street, Hogan's Beach Shop. My son like, oh, that's Hogan's Beach Shop. Oh man, Dad, can we go over there? This and that. Because he doesn't understand the situation of what Hulk Hogan did. So it kind of sucks that, you know, he's such a big name that even though he did these bad things, it's like some people don't even know about it and they still see him in that light. And, you know, when it comes to Vince, when you're like, he's saying like he's being tone deaf, here's one of those things where I feel like it's like he's doing this and then he's like, you know what? I know what's going on. And then I'm going to make Titus O'Neil be his partner on top of it to blend this in. You know, it's like weird because like, yeah, we're going to put Titus O'Neil, who people love, and we're going to partner up with Hulk Hogan. We're trying to get him that love back from Black wrestling fans. So, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to put this out there and hopefully it all works out how I want it to work out.
But one thing I love about the fans, though, the wrestling fans are the worst, but they're the greatest too. They ain't gonna hide. He low-key might get booed. The pop won't be there.
Yeah.
And I had said on the coffee talk, I was like, his legacy will always be there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we can't deny the fact that he's one of the main reasons why wrestling became somewhat of a household name. He did a lot for the business, but more fans don't connect with him anymore.
Yeah, facts.
It's more Stone Cold Rock, Stone Cold Rock, Stone Cold Rock, Stone Cold Rock. And it's not, the luster is not as there as it used to be, especially with the whole situation that he did. And a lot of people don't know about it. I remember my homegirl saw my coffee talk thing because I shared it to my personal page, and she was like, oh my God, why aren't more people talking about it? I was like, more people don't know about this. Wrestling is like, Vince McMahon's a fucking G because he's put wrestling into this bubble where it's low-key this secret society. but like, we all know it's there, but we just don't like go there. It's like, oh, that's wrestling over there? Okay, I'm just gonna drive by.
Uh-huh.
And you have to go in to know what's going on.
Yep.
Like, unless you go inside, you know what's going on. And that's the biggest thing, because if the whole situation was more mainstream, this wouldn't have happened.
Facts. No, definitely. Now, I'll ask you, because this kind of makes me think about, you know, like other situations too. So, you know, like for the longest, they wanted to put China into the Hall of Fame. And I remember reading somewhere something about, you know, Triple H, like, we put her in the Hall of Fame, and then somebody Googles her and see all these things that she's been doing. I feel like it's kind of like the same thing, like with somebody like a Hulk Hogan. Where's the point where we should stop looking at things that happen in these people's personal lives and start just looking at what they've contributed in the squared circle?
It's I don't think you can compare the two, in my opinion, but I understand what you're saying. It's kind of like a musician, right? Mm-hmm. What they do in their personal life, do you still fucking listen to the music? Yeah. Like, I don't listen to R. Kelly anymore because of I used to be a teacher, so I can't do that. But some people say that they can, you know, separate the two, the artist from the person. It depends on who the person is. But for me, China was, how many of these wrestlers that's in the Hall of Fame did a shit ton of drugs, did fucking sex with prostitutes, all this other shit. You can legit Google the shit too. You can legit get shoot interviews that people talk about Shawn Michaels. And I love Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. Before he got saved and after he got saved. So I'm not knocking him, but it's like there's plenty of wrestlers that you can. It's just one of those, it's who you are. Hogan's legacy is a lot more powerful than China. Even though China legit broke some barriers, did amazing things for the business when it came to women's wrestling. But it's what Triple H is saying, it's a cop-out. Because Hogan's legacy is just a lot bigger. That's why.
Definitely. Yeah, I could definitely could see that.
Hogan's on Jordan rules.
Yeah, facts. Yeah, totally. I totally agree with you on that. And you know, for me, it's so it was so heartbreaking because I'm a huge NWO fan. Like anybody will tell you, like, yo, I'm NWO for life. Like just like they said, for life. That's me. I love it. And you know, it like hurts. It's like I got on my wall over here. I got a freaking NWO shirt signed Hulk Hogan, signed Kevin Nash, Scott Hall. Now that to me that took like a big piece of my childhood away from me, and it's like
it's a huge thing for all of us. Like I was a huge Hogan fan. I dressed up as Hogan twice for like one of my viewing parties. Hollywood Hogan and regular red and yellow Hogan. I used to watch Thunder in Paradise.
Yep.
Because Hogan was on there. Like I like we're all in the same boat. Like really, and people try to defend it, and you said what you said, and he never really apologized. That's my biggest thing. Like, listen, ignorance is bliss. You grew up in a fucked up neighborhood or whatever. You learned the racism shit. Well, yeah, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But when it came down to it, when it was your time to man up and say, like, yo, I fucked up. I'm sorry. And to change my rhetoric, my thinking, all of this shit, you didn't. You basically apologized for getting caught. Yep. And that's the reason why I can't forgive Homeboy.
Facts. So can we forgive things like this when it comes to like, or should I say, I'll rephrase it. Do you think like once they get caught and they say, hey, I'm sorry for these things, does that change the person? And can they actually change from that mind process of what they had and what they thought? Do you think that's possible?
I think it's definitely possible because racism is taught.
Yeah.
We don't wake up, we don't come out the womb and be like, I hate this race. No, you don't. You are, it's programmed or into your mind by parents, the people around you. So you start learning that. And you hold on to it for years later on. And do I believe people can change? Yes. They start learning about like, no, this is not it. This is not it. People are, they're not the same. Get that out your head. It's one of those things you got to take their word for it. They may not change, but then they may genuinely change because they are understanding and started seeing the world for what it really is, not this black and white bullshit, which is, you know what I mean? And then it's, but with him, there was never a real apology. Like all the wrestlers that spoke backstage about from the rumors I read, they were like, nigga didn't apologize. He just said, hey, watch your back when people are watching you. Be careful. What?
Yeah. That's like, hey, sorry, I gotta. And I always hate that people use that as an excuse, like, especially people who aren't black. They use that as an excuse. Yo, I got mad, so I called somebody a nigga. Like, yo, nah, but I didn't mean it. It's only because I got mad. You know, that's the only reason I used the word. It's like, but you shouldn't be using it at all, period. It's like, what do you mean?
And the reason why you said it was because you were trying to insult the person and trying to hurt the person. So you knew the malice behind it. So that means a little part of you is racist.
Yeah, facts. But you know, it is what it is. Enough Hogan talk. You know, let's talk about for you. You know, wanting to get in the ring and taking the training seriously. Like, what was the thought process behind it, and when did you decide, like, hey, I'm really gonna like go after this and I want to be in the ring?
I always wanted to do it, but once again, I didn't know where to go. And a part of me was a little scared. I remember it's for me, I have so much going on. I got to find things that work with the lifestyle that I live. So I remember one time my boy Marcus Marquise came. He's like, yo, I'm thinking about wrestling. And I was like, I got too many injuries. I'm good. But it was still in the back of my head. I wanted to do it. And he was going to Staten Island to wrestle. And my ass is King, MTA, and Long Island Railroad. So I was thinking, if I go to Staten Island, that's gonna be like, it's like a 2-3 hour ride. I already get off late. I gotta get off, go over there. Like, nah, it's not gonna work. I love it. If I ain't love it, I don't love it that much that it's gonna like be that out of the way. Because Staten Island in New York is Staten Island's not even connected to it. It's a separate island away off from the rest of New York City.
Yep.
So you have to take a boat to get there. So no, I wasn't doing that. So then it was always in the back of my head. They started wrestling, and Marcus Marquis and Isaiah were really good. They're partnered. They're 2/3 of a group called Prolific, and they're fucking amazing. So I started going to indie shows, and Hog, HOG, aka House of Glory, I was going to their shows because their shows is right by my crib. So I'm going to their shows, and then I see on their Instagram they have an open house. They never have an open house.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, this is everything. And this is when we first started doing Java Tears podcast, probably like 20, 30 episodes in-ish, whatever. And I remember I was like, if I'm going to do this podcast, it's really going to help me understand the wrestling on another level. Understanding what these men and women go through on a daily basis. May not be as on their level, like, you know, WWE, AEW, even the Impact, like all those people not on their level, but like, I'm going to understand why a match is the way it is. And I'm such a hands-on person. So I was like, yo, this is a way for me to better understand and also be better at podcasting about wrestling. And I just want, and then maybe one day I'll end up in the E, or maybe I can just be a consistent player in the independent scene.
Yeah.
So why not jump into it? It was basically like a why not situation. And I did. I went to the open house. They fucking tried to kill it. They did NXT style, where it's like, and they also did like dojo style shit, where it was just like trying to kill you to see if you're gonna stay there. And I ended up staying. You know, my schedule was so crazy that my first year was a little up and down, but I was there a lot. My coach is Amazing Red.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
Nice.
So I'm blessed to have him as my coach. And we like, once again, like, just last year, Master P bought our school. So he was involved in that, but then, you know, COVID happened and we had to slow it down and shit. But it's been a blessing, and it's something that I wanted to do, but I'm so happy that I get to do it. Like, and get a real insight of the business from the wrestler's point of view, which is why I was so offended, low-key. No, not low-key. I fucking screamed him. I told him, fuck you, with the Bow Wow situation.
Yeah.
Because if this is something you really want to do, come on in. But if it's something that you're using for clout, trying to make some quick cash, low-key, fuck you. You know what I mean? Because people break their necks, lose their lives. Like, fucking Draws can't walk right now. Kevin Nash had multiple surgeries on his hips and knees, like, because of the business. Like, it's rough because these people put their lives on it. And, you know, everybody gets their way in, and it's perfectly fine, but you got to appreciate it. You got to show a little bit of more respect than what you're showing it to. It's not just a way to make money.
Yeah, no, definitely. I definitely feel you on that. That's what I said. I was if I don't get you on Bow Wow at WrestleMania, I was gonna riot this year, man. That's what I wanted this year. I was like, yeah, if I don't get it, I'm gonna be upset. So, but it's all good. So, you know, one thing that I like about you, you know, one of the things that made me like you even more was that I'm one of the few people, and you're one of the few people that I know of that absolutely loves Nia Jax. And I tell people all the time, Nia's right, man. They be hating because she's a big girl. I'm like, Nia's right. Y'all hating, she mad pretty, man.
Bro, I got the toy here. I got a picture done. My ex got me a signed picture for her. I got this other
man.
picture here. I'm a legit fan. You know what's crazy? I don't usually watch Total Divas, but I watched Total Divas with her on it. And she was coming off so mean. I was like, I don't want to ruin my perception of her, so I'm gonna stop watching this shit.
Oh man, nah, you can't. You know that reality TV is everything but real, man. So you can't.
You're right, but I was like, I don't want this taste in my mouth of her being this mean person. So you know what? Let me stop watching this. I'll enjoy her from. I think she's stunningly gorgeous. Like I remember there was a time she was reposting our stuff every time we mentioned her. I was like, yo, thank you.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, man. I think she's a very beautiful girl. If you look at her stuff, she used to be a model. She used to be like, I'm like, yo, y'all people sleeping, bro. Y'all sleeping. But it is what it is. You know, we can't wake up everybody. It is what it is. It is what it is. You know, being in New York, hip hop is a huge thing. What are some of the hip hop artists you're listening to? Some of your favorites, and you know, when it comes to you, who you think is the greatest rapper in New York? There's always that debate about who the greatest is. For you, who is
right
it?
now? I don't know if you've heard of him. Some people have, some people have. You probably have. I'm fucking Griselda hard.
Yeah.
This new Benny the Butcher project he just released.
Yep.
Whew, boy, this has been on repeat. Especially the last two songs, Survivor's Remorse and Thanksgiving. My God, I love this. I love this project. I love Benny so much.
Yeah, he's amazing.
But I think Griselda right now is killing in New York. New York doesn't have what it used to have when it came to the hip hop scene like that. Because, you know, hip hop is so global now. So it's not just New York. Because at the time, you know, back in the day, all the labels were in New York.
Yeah, facts.
So you had to come to New York to, like, you know, do your thing. But Griselda is holding it down for New York hip hop because they're from Buffalo, but they're holding it down right now for New York hip hop. Right now, what's on rotation right now? I listen to a lot of The Weeknd. I'm a huge Weeknd fan. But hip hop wise, people deny this, and it's funny because he talked about this in his first mixtape, his second mixtape, So Far So Gone. But Drake's the man, son. And we be fronting on him hard. And you know, the ghostwriting situation, I understand that, but homie's Mr. Consistent.
Facts. Facts. Dude, I tell people this all the time. Like, they talk about Drake is the greatest artist of all time. Greatest artist of all time. I don't care if you talk about pop, rap, Spanish music, what R&B, whatever you want to talk about. I don't care. Drake is the greatest artist of all time. That's why he can't even participate in these versus battles or whatever they doing, because he would kill anybody. Every song he makes is a hit.
Bro, his like the 3-pack he released called Scary Hour.
Yeah, yep.
The shit, all 3 songs were consecutively debuted at 1, 2, and 3 on the Billboard chart.
Yep.
What?
Yep. Who else does that? Nobody does that.
The only person he can do a versus with is Jay. I love Jay-Z. Me and Janelle love Jay-Z. I think it's the New York shit in us. I think that's the only person he could probably go up against. But son, homie got bangers. And his B-side stuff is like, oh my God. Like, I remember when I listened to what's that album called? The album when he had on the cover, it was he was in Toronto. That's the
Views?
Yes, Views.
Mm-hmm.
First time I heard Views, I didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna keep it a buck. I was like, okay, this is okay. I went back to listen to it about 3 months ago. I was like, I'm a fucking moron. This is some good shit.
Yeah, man.
And like, he said it. And he's so intelligent with his music. And he said it like, you're not gonna appreciate this shit until later.
Yeah.
And he was right about me, especially because I didn't fully appreciate it until later. And it's a couple of his albums where the only album that I liked off the rip was Take Care.
Yeah.
That was, and that's because The Weeknd was a little bit involved in that one. But his first album to this day, I think, is horrible. Like, it has a couple of bangers on there, but when I listened to it the first time, I was like, this shit is fucking rushed.
Yeah.
You had to put this out because you were so fucking hot at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? Fine. Because I know you're just that talented. Because I knew he was talented off the rip. Because I remember listening to that so far. Funny thing, I was last of my friends to get put on to Drake.
Uh-huh.
I meant one of my boys raps, and he kind of his cadence is kind of like Drake's. So we're on the way to a nightclub, and he's playing So Far So Gone mixtape in the car. And I was like, "Was this Andre?" And I'm like, "No, this is Drake." I was like, "Who?" It was like Drake. I was like, "Yo, this shit is amazing. What is this?" Next day, I get home to the crib, I downloaded that, whatever the shit I had, CD, whatever we had, I played that shit so much. Because it's the one thing about Drake, he gets this feel. You feel something when you listen, like the way that him and 40 put the tracks together and like does certain things with everything. It's like this science shit that he does. Like, I be feeling like a baller, like I got mad bread and I'm a millionaire with some of the tracks he's listening to. That. And I'm gonna stop being get off Drake's dick. Pause, but dude got it.
Nah, he do. You know the thing with him too is that it's like it's real shit. It's just it's how you feel. There's moments you got the gangster feel, just like you said. You felt like a millionaire. Then there's times where it's like, damn, that girl broke your heart. And then sometimes you got all these relationship issues. It's a whole bunch of stuff. He taps into everything.
And some of his features, like. This one song, I think it's with Young Blue. Mm-hmm. He has a verse on there. I think is it Young Blue? Fuck my phone. It's You're Still Mine. It's played all over, and she has that line where she gave me the hug. I forgot the line, but it's like the verse itself is the realest shit I've ever heard in a while for this year, basically.
Oh, the song that just came out. Is it I think I know what you're talking about. It was like something like he was with the girl in the club and she hugged somebody else.
Yes.
The way he would have hugged the girl that he used to fuck, but he didn't want her man to know. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
That verse, when I first heard, I was like, I've been on both sides of that.
That's crazy.
I've been on both sides of what he's talking about.
Yep.
And then he has another line, and it's not for verbatim, where he's like, if my friends knew what I do for you,
yeah,
they would basically call me crazy, like, what are you doing? Like, type of shit. And I was like, I've been there. I've been there. And that's the beauty of it. I fuck with Griselda so heavy because I always feel like I'm selling coke. Oh, listen to this shit. I always feel like I'm selling coke. Like I was like, yo, I'm here with you, y'all. Like, let me bag this up with y'all and make this money, son.
Facts. Hip hop is a great thing, man. And then when it comes to wrestling, I'm so happy to see these these intertwining between the two that's been going on lately. With Bad Bunny, things with Cardi B, even the BS that you talked about with Bow Wow, the BS with Soulja Boy and Randy Orton, stuff like that. It's like I'm happy to see the worlds coming together because there's a lot of connection between the two of them.
Of course, because they're all, it's entertainment. It's all this. At the end of the day, when my coach talks about your gimmick and like who you're gonna be as a character, it's usually who you are times 50. It's this pageantry in wrestling. And hip hop's the same way. Like, you get a rapper, some may not really have lived that life.
Yeah.
But they put on this character like that they did this thing. You know what I mean? And then they have the gold chains, they have the cars, it's the pageantry, like the whole performance of everything. Like, it's that. some people really live that life, and you know they did, like DMX.
Yep. Definitely. DMX, the Locks. I know them dudes. You don't mess with them dudes. They all legit. I'll close out with this. What are some of your, besides, we know you do the personal training, but hobbies or talents that you have outside of wrestling that fans wouldn't know that you do?
I write scripts.
Really? Oh man.
Like I just finished writing with my partner a television script. I'm really into that, and that's something I thoroughly enjoyed. That different type of storytelling. Yeah, so that's something that most people don't know.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. All right, so we're gonna be on the lookout. So we got the podcast, we got Jobber Tears Network. We're about to have Jobber Tears Entertainment coming soon. I see what you're doing there. I see what you're doing. It's all good.
Listen, ain't nobody gonna give you, they're not gonna hand it to you. You kind of got to take it.
You gotta go get it. Facts. But Sir Wilkins, man, yo, I just want to thank you for taking this time out. I'm pretty sure we could keep going on for hours and hours.
Yeah.
But definitely, I really appreciate you coming on and taking this time to join me here on RapnWrestle.
Thank you for having me, man. I follow a lot of your stuff, and I enjoy what you're doing in the community. And it's like, I thank you so much for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Definitely, man. Definitely. And if they want to follow you, if they want to connect with you guys, Jobber Tears Network, how would they do that?
So my personal stuff is all over social media. It's the same thing as SIR_Wilkins, which is WILKINS. And the Jobber Tears is Jobber Tears, JOBBERTEARS on all social medias. We're everywhere. We're trying to build and get bigger and bigger within this community we call wrestling.
Facts. Definitely. You guys make sure you check them out. A lot of great content. Like I said, definitely leading the way for all of us other Black podcasters, whether they know it or not. That's what you guys are doing. But for this episode, this is RapnWrestle. You can also check us out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter @RapnWrestle. Make sure you subscribe and check out all of our episodes on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify as well. Anywhere you get all your streaming at. And for this episode, it's Derek, it's Sir Wilkins of the Jobber Tears, and we are out.